Hey everybody, welcome to the show. We're here is live from the Strat. We have Greg from Yardi with us. We have Natalia from Integrity Media Solutions. We're here having some fun tonight. We just got done with our award ceremony where Integrity brought home some trophies and some plaques. And Yardi, you guys won some trophy as well, right? You got some.
We did. We got a streak going.
You're a big streak. How long has your streak been going?
Since I've been here, 6 years.
6 years. And what did you guys get this year? Like over 100,000 million, 100 million gallon or a billion gallon?
It was 2 million. Yeah.
Okay, big numbers. Big
numbers up there in the top.
All right. So Greg, when did you guys get in?
I got in this morning. Basically, our whole team got in this.
Flew in this morning. Got set up for the NA.
Yeah. When you say our team, though, basically there's 4 of us on the hardware side.
Okay.
Yardi itself, obviously, is a huge sponsor of the NAA.
Yep.
So we have a plethora of amount of people.
Okay.
Here representing us. So.
Very good.
I can't answer to all of them when they got in.
Natalia, how was your trip coming in?
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
4-hour drive.
4-hour drive from Phoenix.
Drove here. Yeah.
What kind of car?
We rented a car, so I didn't have to put miles on my car. But I have a Challenger GT.
What year is your car, Natalia?
23.
23, yeah. Nice car. Burgundy color. I've seen it.
Burgundy. I like going fast.
How many tickets you get?
I have not. Okay, let me rephrase. I've got 1 ticket since I've been in Arizona, and it was because I was going 5 over the limit. Is what the cop says. But I was going with traffic.
I know my daughter. She's probably doing 20 over the limit. So
yes,
I know how she goes.
I was only going 5 though, for real.
You still cover her insurance?
No. That's been her husband does that now. So I finally got somebody to marry her, so I don't have to do that no more.
That's a great strategy.
Exactly. He told me you should have warned me with a tag or something before you let me do it. I said no, I couldn't do any of that. You just said as is what you get. You buy it, that's what you get.
I'm pretty great.
It's in the back.
So, Greg, how long have you been with Yardi?
I've been 6 years.
6 years. Okay, where are you coming from before that?
I came from the telco world, being AT&T, all those types of companies.
Telecoms and stuff?
Yes.
Okay. How long were you doing that? A long time, it sounds
20
like?
years.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. So you're doing sales in Yardi?
Correct. Yeah.
How's that going? You guys having a good year so far?
Yeah, so they actually created this position about 6 years ago because, we had the hardware department that supports our utility billing clients.
Yeah.
And they didn't really have anybody to champion it or to help the clients out understand what to get.
Sure.
So they created that position, and I was fortunate enough to get it. And so it's just been phenomenal.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I take a lot of the experience that I got from the telco world and apply it to this, but it's a totally different environment.
Yeah, absolutely. Most people say sub-metering, they have no idea what you're talking about.
Exactly, right? It's a commodity that people don't want to know about, but they need it.
Absolutely.
And, so it's one of those things that we can help clients out with, but it's not that urgent need that you get from the telecom world, right? Because the telecom world goes down, you got to do it now. Yeah,
I'm traveling all around talking to people, and then I say sub-metering, they're like, what is that? I have no idea what I'm talking about.
No.
Then when I start going a little bit about it, okay, that makes sense now. So it's pretty cool how we've been doing that.
Yeah. So. Well, and as you know, there's a great connection between the telco world and what we do with the meters, because you're talking about the communication path.
Absolutely.
You're talking about WANs and LANs and getting all that information up into the cloud so the billing company can access it. So that's helped me out a lot, being able to converse that to the clients.
Yeah.
And that's an aspect that, like you said, most people don't want to know about.
No.
And they get to that point and they're like, okay, just tell me what I need, right? So it's comforting to know that with a background like that, we can help out our clients and get them on the right path.
So when you got approached did you approach Yardi or did you apply for the job at Yardi?
It was a great circumstance. I was just let go of another position in the IT world, and I had a good friend that was with Yardi, so they got me an interview. And
so when you first heard about sub-metering, you were kind of the same thing, like what is sub-metering, like what is that all about?
Yeah, I went in totally blind. I had to kind of just work my way through the interview and act like I knew what I was talking about.
Sure.
As we all do. Right?
Absolutely. Oh, I know all about what you're talking about. Oh,
yeah. Water meters. Yeah.
What is that?
So, but yeah, you learn it's actually a very complicated process, right? Because most people think you just walk into Home Depot, buy them,
sure,
you're good to go.
Yeah.
But since there's so many different variables to look at, it's just not a grab one off the shelf and go.
Yeah, it's not even variables as much as that, but there's also the the different manufacturers.
Yeah.
Who you going to use for the application you're working in. So
Right.
Knowing that actually helps you with navigating that navigation through that whole process.
Oh, absolutely. Right.
So whether Next Century or Tahama or Innovonics, whoever you're using, knowing their application helps you know what you need to do in that field.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and the end goal for us is all about the billing, right? So we want to eliminate that challenge, those things that you run into when you try and get hardware and software to marry together.
Yeah.
And it's just not that simple. Go back to the 80s when you're talking about IBM and Windows and Apples and all that kind of things. And it's kind of the same world.
I hear you.
Just trying to figure out which hardware is going to work with the software. And for us, again, it's just about the billing, making that as smooth as possible. So we need to go with the product that offers that.
So let me ask you this, because one of the things we do on this show, we talk a lot about AI.
Yep.
Are you guys starting to use some AI tools and AI things in your stuff that you're doing? Do you see any of that happening right now?
So AI is kind of a broad
it
topic,
is.
right?
It
You
is.
can take that in a lot of different directions. The AI for the meter world is just getting that data and getting it back to the client so they can use it to make decisions, right? So, we're coming out, and I say we, but vendors are coming out with products that are going to recognize like leaks and being able to shut off the water due to that. I think we're still in the early stages of that, but
I see AI taking over an aspect of being able to communicate with the customer, like a customer service liaison. Hey, you got a leak going on. We can interject that sort of thing quickly.
Yeah.
Get people on the top of those things faster versus waiting till a big mess. Getting that stuff ahead of time. I think AI can take over some of those roles.
Yep.
Or you can integrate where alerting your tenants and or property managers very quickly. Hey, you got a problem here. You need to get that resolved fast.
Yeah, and when you go again back to defining what AI is it the information that's making the decision for the client and providing a response, or is it just providing the information so the client can make the response?
Correct.
So I think we're at the stage where the information is being given to the client if they know they have the information, and they can make a response from there. Have we got to the point yet where the equipment is actually doing the work and doing those responses for them yet? I don't think we're there yet, but you can see the path.
Yeah, I was talking with another gentleman from Utility Billing. He's on a show a couple weeks ago, and he's really more into IoT things and all those other things.
Yeah,
he's really
the IoT.
Yeah, he's really seeing some of those trends and what's going to happen in the future. I can see AI being a big influence in the meter market for sure.
Yeah.
Especially with some of the like the MTWs do ultrasonic meter, having some AI built into that. Just seeing some of those things start to trend is really kind of cool to see where it's going to go.
Yeah.
Well, Greg, I appreciate you coming on the show today, buddy.
Wait, this is it?
Well,
we're not going to talk hockey?
We can talk whatever you want. Got some hockey? You want to talk some hockey? We'll talk
Let's
some
go
hockey.
Stanley Cup.
Yes.
Who are we going for?
Okay, well, Stanley Cup currently, I don't know who's in it. I was a Lightning
Panthers
fan.
is one of them.
Yes, okay, so the Florida Panthers. All right, who are you going for? Are you going for the opposite?
So I'm a big Dallas Stars fan.
All right.
And we obviously lost in the finals conference to Edmonton. And Edmonton just whipped us in the back shed. They're a good team.
They are.
And because Edmonton and Florida, I think, are the two best teams in there, we have had the best Stanley Cup I think we've ever seen in a long time.
Very long time.
Yeah, because they are being very aggressive. The skill level is out of this world, both sides.
I'm a Lightning fan, unfortunately, so we're out there this year. But
Yeah, and you got Val, which is probably one of the best goalies out there.
Absolutely,
yes.
absolutely.
He's huge and he moves quick side to side.
Stamkos,
Stamkos,
big,
yeah. And
Sammy
obviously
left.
you guys lost a huge chunk last year to Nashville.
for sure.
And that killed you, but I think you still have the best coach in the league.
We do.
Cooper is
The whole
great.
Lightning organization is a very good organization. I mean,
Yeah.
they turned that thing around and really made it something. So I remember going back to the games where you couldn't even give tickets away. They were still when they first come out.
Well, and of
Now-
course, they beat my Stars, too, in the
Yeah.
COVID years.
Yeah,
so
for sure, for
I
sure.
got to hate them for the rest of my life.
Hey, that's not cool. Don't do that.
Yeah, that's so cool.
What did Tyler go off to? He ever showed back up?
Talking.
I know.
We gotta get him back. We gotta get him on the show so he can talk about what he wants to talk about. So
I know.
you already got going on. You got anything new trends coming out? Anything special you guys are going to be pushing?
Well,
into?
yeah, we just released Voyager 8, so that's out.
What is Voyager 8?
So that's our main software. That's our accounting system.
Okay.
So your Voyager or Yardi is all about the accounting for property management, and that's our core product. So everything else is built off that. So we have so many different layers that are built off that feed into the database for Voyager.
Okay.
One of them being the energy, and the energy aspect is here's my man with the hat.
Here comes Tyler Cross.
Tyler Cross.
I'm in, baby. I'm in.
So, but
No more worries.
Might have to take your head off of that. I don't know.
You think so?
No way.
You might, or that will
Go
come behind
backwards.
your ears.
Go behind it. Here, let's switch hats.
You think this bald head will be able to handle it? How's it look on camera?
We don't
Too
care
much
about your
light.
head on camera. Your
Too
head's so
much
big.
Man, this thing is...
Dim down the light for it.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we have Tyler Cross from Integrity Media Solutions joining us. So we were just talking about your truck and your crazy extravaganza truck. So, you want to clue us in a little bit what your truck's going on, what you got going on there?
Oh, just doing another SEMA build. Nothing too
What kind
exciting.
of build?
A SEMA build.
SEMA. Okay.
So, like to do once a
Everybody
year.
got that?
Once a year, I do a frame-off build of some kind of. I like to do specialize in diesel conversions. So I take diesel motors out of old bread trucks, or doing diesel motors in motorcycles or jet skis.
Wait, whoa. Diesel motors and motorcycles.
Oh yeah.
You did some crazy stuff.
Yeah. So right now, I just finished a.
Anybody would jump a motorcycle like 100 feet, 200 feet, or whatever he does, and go way up what he does, you ain't in his right mind.
I never jumped over 185. So
185, is that the distance?
Does he have his Evil Knievel costume?
I haven't seen it, but he probably does.
well, it's the bald head is now
The bald head.
costume.
So you don't wear a helmet.
And I do. Now I do. Unfortunately.
You do.
Yeah, doing a wheelie down I-95, going to Daytona Bike Week at 94 miles an hour, riding a wheelie, trying to impress some girls on the left-hand side of the lane, and a old sandbag fell out of a flatbed truck in front of me, and I hopped it, and it sort of, by the grace of God, put me into a ditch, and I had no helmet, no shirt, board shorts and thong sandals, just going to the beach, and by somehow I walked away. I do have 22 titanium rods
Right.
of metal in me, but I did walk away, and I'm here. I don't walk too great. I sort of walk like a gangster with a limp. But
Yeah.
So the question is, what the girls do? They come back to
they,
save you?
They didn't. They kept going.
All for that.
They said that guy ain't got nothing for us. So.
Yeah. I guess it
Can't
didn't
handle a
I
handbag.
guess,
Screw
yeah,
him.
I guess it did impress them. So
You got to do the Tom Cruise when you see that sandbag and kind of do a
exactly.
little willy.
Yeah,
over it.
I wasn't able to do what movies do. I can tell you that.
That's the problem.
So yeah, I do a lot of diesel conversion stuff. I find joy in it. I don't do it for money. I end up losing money on most builds. And when I was younger, I would do it and, of course, sell that project to fund the next one. Now that I'm a little older and in a different situation, I hoard cool stuff.
So do you like create and build your own bikes and the welding and
I
the
do.
whole
So
gambit?
I have a fetish for old two-stroke motocross bikes.
Yeah.
So lately I've been doing, actually just finishing up a cool build now. A company called Two Strokes Only. I'm actually doing, now that technology's come a long way, Johnny, you'll like this. I've been taking motors out of two-stroke engines and scanning them into CAD, computer scanning them in, and building the motor out of billet aluminum. So basically, they'll scan the bike completely with this awesome camera system, and then disassemble it, and then scan it all in, and then take the guts out of it and scan all that back in. And basically, somehow Luke is able to be able to take OEM manufactured Kawasaki, Yamaha, whatever it is, parts, and integrate them into the full billet motor. And of course, at that point, because it's made on a machine, you can hone the motor, bore the motor, make it much more powerful and much more cool, and you have a polished billet aluminum motor. So I've been doing these conversions, just about to finish one now. It's a couple weeks away from being complete. It's a 2004 KX 125. I want to do a 125 build because it's a little bit of a smaller displacement motor, and I find joy in ringing those things out because just the sound of it just just ripping down the track is.
Could you repeat that?
It sounds amazing. So anyway, just cool stuff like that, unique builds that no one either is stupid enough to do, or just ideas that guys like you and I would sit down at the bar and come up like, dude, it'd be so cool to like give you, for instance, I just put a Kawasaki Ninja motor in a 1996 Wave Blaster jet ski. It's about 102, 103 mile an hour ski on a perfect glassy day. And so realistically, it'll run 80, 90.
Another death trap.
Yeah, it's a death trap. So anyway, my wife wants me to build one for her. She likes it so much. So I'm going to probably build something cool for her. Not so crazy, but...
So here's the real question about all that. Do you put a water meter on that mic?
I need to. That's actually...
You know, meter how much water is coming through that thing.
Yeah, that's be a good idea. Yeah, point of contact, right?
Absolutely.
Make sure it's a sonic water meter.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, nothing too crazy. I this is what I do with my spare time, and of course my father-in-law and everybody just thinks I'm nuts.
So he works for you, right?
He does. He
And
runs our West Coast
he
operation.
has that much spare time.
Not really.
And you're not concerned.
No, I'm not. Well, yeah, exactly.
Well, he's always been concerned about who his daughter married.
Okay,
That's a fact.
right.
But no, I own the West Coast division, so basically anything. Where is our dividing line? We never really even talked about it.
gotta
We
be
kind of
Mississippi.
help each other
Yeah,
out.
Texas. I would say Alabama, Texas, somewhere around there.
Mississippi.
Yeah. So anything west of that, I handle for the most part, unless they want to specifically use him for whatever reason.
So, yeah, it just depends on what's going on. If you're available, I'm available.
Yeah.
Texas, we kind of coexist in what we need to.
Yeah. So I have crews. He has crews, and we stay busy for sure.
Yeah.
So how big are you guys? How many employees?
So
we're
overall,
about 12, I think,
yeah,
right
I think
now.
we're at 12.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
That's good.
So we're definitely interested in building the relationships in a sense of either builders or for me, finding GCs and builders have been much more special. One, you're being able to contact the most important people on the site, in my opinion, and building that relationship to where you're constantly building, you're constantly turning more as the economy keeps growing. Building multifamily home properties is obviously where I'm from in Phoenix, where we live, is growing leaps and bounds. So doesn't seem to stop. So building relationships with the builders have been sort of like where Johnny and I have really been targeting the importance. It just seems the people that have been providing them service either haven't been that great, or logistically they're trying to do it themselves and they're growing faster than they can, and so logistically it's not really working out for the builders in that way. And so that's sort of where we came in and found that little niche market and sort of just took off and run. Johnny has sort of got the expertise, been doing this for 20 plus years. I sort of retired and was going to just sort of like disappear in the sunset,
I
and
sucked him back in.
yeah, and
So-
he sort of sucked me back in. So
So do you guys just stick with the multifamily, or do you guys go other?
Now
different
we're looking at
markets?
some things. For example, I was just talking to Next because I have a little issue I'm trying to resolve. But I have a company called Tommy's Car Washes out in Florida. They have like 100 locations. They actually want to install sub-metering in their things to be able to measure water per car.
Yeah.
Right. So they sort of have a few things. We've already did a test pilot with them. They love it. So we're looking at other applications besides the multifamily and condo, typical townhome kind of thing, where sub-metering can be applied. And that's one aspect we found that we can use it in. We've done some other things as well that we've there's some leak monitoring and things like that we're trying to get into as well.
Yeah.
So we're kind of finding our own niche, and obviously we want to work on multifamily as well, but we're finding other areas we can branch out to bring that to.
and
Right.
we found markets that we have tapped into that we decided really we didn't want to tap into, mobile home market. So I've done some things as we were growing, and I realized, okay, listen, I'm never too good to do any job. That's not how we feel. But there was a point in time. It's like, it's got to make sense, and it's a little on the rough side of that market, depending on what you're walking into, depending on where the park's located and things. That market specifically is being sort of slumlordy, to where you have someone owns all of the mobile homes in that park, and then he wants to target the water consumption on each unit.
Yep.
To bill them accordingly. And as we dabbled into that, I think that's something that John and I have in unison.
That's not really where where we want to be.
Yeah.
Well, and
As you tell me, you own 700 mobile home parks right now.
Yeah.
No,
So, I mean, we do have a lot of mobile home clients, and there is a huge need for that, right? But like you pointed out, there's additional challenges to those, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with commercial. Commercial is another huge market that's out there for sub-metering, especially when you talk about MI being meter intelligence and shadow meters and those kind of things. But it's a huge different animal, right?
Yeah,
So
we do a lot of commercial work.
right. So like with multifamily, it's great because it's a cookie cutter, But when you get commercial or mobile homes or PHA or affordable or any of those other types, single family homes or condos, it adds that extra layer of, oh gosh, okay, how do we solve this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
So we've took it on, and I think you guys are actually building some currently in Phoenix. They're building these single family home properties that are all rentals, and they're neighborhoods of between 100 and 200.
Yep.
And we've taken those on. For some reason, they're liking to use 1-inch meters, and some of them, not exactly sure what that's all about. So we have been doing that, and I find that enjoyable. I'm not opposed. I mean, we love that market, and actually, Phoenix, if you drive down the 3 major highways, they're literally popping up everywhere of these little 100 to 200 unit single-family home units that are still using this technology.
Yeah.
And so we've been tapping into that, and I'm on my probably 10th property doing that this year, and I find that enjoyable because now the downfall to that is because it's not multifamily, the building process is slower. So we're doing in phases. So let's say in a 200 unit deal, it takes about 7 to 8 phases of us doing 20 at a time or what have you, which is okay. I mean, it's not in a perfect world. That's not what we love to do, but that's the way they're being built, and you got to, that's what it is.
Adapt to what it is.
Yeah.
So can I bring up a topic? Do we have enough time
Yeah,
on
go
this?
ahead.
Or okay, yes, okay. So the conversation I have with a lot of our clients is they'll provide the drawing for us, and it calls the pipe is 1 inch. Obviously, when you put a meter on there, you want the meter to match the pipe.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're providing a choke point, you're providing a 1-inch pipe that's going to provide a 50 gallon per minute flow. Now you're sticking a meter that's going to only allow 20 minute GPMs. But obviously the cost difference is huge.
Yeah.
Right? So when you talk about 3/4 inch, you're talking about $40 per meter on the low end versus 120.
Yeah.
So my question to you guys is...
And also going poly to brass.
Right. So the question I have for this podcast is I've talked to some plumbing engineers, and they're like, they don't care. Put the 3/4 inch on the 1-inch pipe. It doesn't matter.
Oh, with a reducer?
With a reducer,
Yeah.
right? And then it flows back up to the 1 inch.
Yeah.
So all those things I just listed out are things of concern, but the engineer doesn't care. Obviously, our vendors have a concern with that because it could void the warranty. So from your perspective, what have you guys seen as far as installing that type of...
I try not to downsize only because I know there's a water restriction there.
Yep.
It should give a water flow where you're not getting the shower pressure you want from there. It doesn't really affect it a whole lot, especially if you use a true 3/4 inch meter versus like a 5/8 versus 3/4.
Yep.
I will install what the customer wants, but I will tell them, hey, it's not in a perfect world. I wouldn't want to do this. Like if you have a 1-inch line, you really want to have a 1-inch meter to accommodate everything you have there. But depending on who we're installing for or what they want, I'll do what they want. But I do bring it up. I do say, listen, this is a 1-inch line. Are you sure you want to do this?
Yep.
And they'll say yes or no, and then we'll just proceed from there. Now, if I'm selling the job and I know it's a 1-inch line, I'm selling a 1-inch meter. And I'll tell them why.
Until they see the proposal.
Until they see the proposal, and they're like, wait a
then they
minute,
go,
that's like triple the cost I expected for.
Yeah.
And then we'll say, well, yeah, that is true.
And then they'll have is if they had a 1-inch originally on the plans, then they'll send their guy in and send that little 4-foot reducer in there. This is what I'm saying, by the way.
Yep.
And then they're ready for that 3/4. So it's like their first neighborhood or second neighborhood, they had the 1-inch and then they learned. But I think you're right. I think if you're taking a reducer from 1-inch to 3/4,
you're losing water pressure.
You're losing pressure.
And the meter's not
Yeah.
getting them enough the flow it you should have.
And the reality is when we talk about a multifamily unit with 1 or 2 bathrooms, they're never going to reach 20 GPMs ever.
No. And that's what we're seeing,
Yeah.
though. That's why I'm like, why did we originally go with a 1-inch line anyway?
Right.
Because it's like, whoa, this is
In
so...
Florida, you see a lot of 1-inch, like on townhome communities. They
Yeah.
seem to want to pump 1-inch to these things.
And I'm all about overkill, my personality.
Sure.
But there's a point, it's like, whoa, did we really need a 1-inch line on this little 2-bedroom, 1-bath?
Yeah. And again, you could be talking about a $30,000 difference.
Yeah.
Right? If not more.
Yeah, for sure.
And again, when they're talking about their budget, they're like, okay. And even after they ordered it.
And that's usually the first question. What is your budget? You're like, that tells you really what you need to know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and unfortunately, most of them don't know because it's water meters. They don't care.
Well, because we're like an afterthought, right?
Yeah.
Like we're the low man on the totem pole.
Oh, crap, we got to put these in now.
Yeah, so they're like the low man on the totem pole. The electricians, plumbers, all the other guys are way bigger contracts and what
Yeah.
we're providing. So we're kind of like an afterthought.
Yeah, absolutely. And so then, of course, obviously, our event tonight with the new sonic meters, those handle that much better as far as being a 3/4 inch on
Yes,
a 1-inch pipe
Less
than what we
restriction.
would see with a single or a multi.
There's no restriction in there, so
Right,
it's just all
right.
just
So it's
flow.
just flowing through. You still have that pinch, but
It's not it's nearest as significant it would be if it was like a chambered meter or whatever. So.
yeah. And from our perspective, it's all about the billing, and we also understand that that's going to influence a little bit of the reads, right? So the reads may be off somewhat, but how do we know how much, right?
You don't really know.
Yeah.
What is the, as far as Yardi concerned, is you guys have a specific product you'd like to push?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's next century.
Next century.
Yeah.
And
So,
do you have your own meter, or do you have a meter you pair that with?
no, we don't have a meter. Yeah, again, our whole gig is to support the UB, so we go out and find the best product for that particular property.
Do you have a meter you're typically liking to push right now? Do you guys have a manufacturer you're using?
Well, it's been the M201 for quite a while, and
Yeah.
also the MJ25.
the MJs and then the
MJs.
MT201Cs.
Yeah, so those have been our go-to over the last year, and obviously we know that Next Century's released the ultrasonic
Ultrasonic.
meter.
What's your feedback been on that so far?
So it's been extremely well, right? So obviously, it's a new product. They're still working through a couple of small issues, but
Sure.
those are going to get resolved. But the clients that I've been talking to over last year, extremely excited about it.
Yeah,
because
it's the
obviously,
same response we're getting.
yeah.
Yeah,
So-
we're seeing that technology come a long way. Him and I had very questionable things about the technology.
Yeah.
Once I dabbled into it much deeper, I realized this is actually technology that's been going for a long time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's 1959, actually.
Is
when you look
that
it up.
true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So-
that's when sonic meters came
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
But, of course, the price point has been
It's
prohibitive.
insane, yeah.
Yeah.
So, once I realized that this technology's sort of been proven for a long time, we're just able to get it into a product that's affordable.
And then they've added some back-end AI stuff in their meter to be able to do leak detection and some freeze detection and some other. They have like a built-in amplifier so it can knows
Yep.
when to pump the volume and all that sort of thing. So it's a lot more new
Pipe
technology.
burst detection.
Yeah, exactly. So some of the things we haven't seen before.
Yep.
Ultrasonic's been around for a long time, but seeing some of the newer those type of things built into the meter is new to us. So
Yeah. And as Chris will define, Chris being with Next Century, ultrasonic's been a great meter, and they're actually used to test the multi-jets, right?
Yeah.
But because of the price point, it's not something you just throw out there randomly.
Yeah.
So the technology is phenomenal. Now they've figured out how to get it to the same price point, because there's a lot of ultrasonic jets out there.
Yeah.
But they're still 120, 150, 200, 300 per meter.
Well,
And
normally you saw that in the big commercial setting. That's where you first saw it
Correct.
mostly, and they still
Yeah.
do.
But
So
not the multifamily, that we live in.
Absolutely.
I got
Yeah.
a question for you. Growth with what you're seeing, not just with your company, but your industry. How much, where in the country are you guys growing the fastest currently?
So I do track that on a monthly basis as far as, we're selling between the west and the east and the mid and in 5 different zones, and it varies. I would say over the
Certain
last
cities.
year or two, yeah, it's not really one that sticks out. California is obviously a different animal, and they have to. And as you know, a lot of meter sales are driven off the regulations.
Yeah.
Right? So companies don't like to spend the CapEx on it. They're nervous about the ongoing maintenance cost, and they're nervous about having to replace it in 3 to 5, 10 years.
Well, some of these retrofits in California specifically, they're super difficult to get to.
Yes.
When you talk about some of these big high rises, and as we go into San Diego, San Francisco, dude, they're difficult to get into.
Oh, yeah.
They're almost not even. The funny thing is, the access panels, as we jokingly, are 4 feet from the meter, which means it's not accessible.
Yeah,
So-
they did not think about
Yeah,
having to go back and change or repair
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah,
So
so-
when you talk about, like you said, not to cut you off, if a meter's only going to last 6, they start. That's concern. It's
Oh,
concern.
absolutely, yeah. So, as we talked about earlier on the floor, that, a lot of construction companies, they want to keep their budget down, so they're putting meters that are going to last 3 years, right? Because they're done with the job and gone. The property management company has to deal with that. And so even though their construction cost was way down, now their maintenance goes way up, right? So you're seeing that, I'm seeing that. And to your point, we've actually had to go out of our way to put in our agreements about the access panel. Because we will see many, many times, which I've seen, you've seen, is that they got this 14 by 12 access panel, which is really hard to work with, but the meters are actually 2 feet down. And so it's impossible to get to. And so, again, construction companies, they have a lot of other things to worry about, not meters, and that's on the back side of their mind.
And sometimes even the single valve stuff is...
You can't even get to the shut-off valves.
And so, not that I do have really short arms, but my guys, thank God, are much taller and leaner than me, but... some of them are just super not accessible, and the double valves have become my best friends. As we see these new construction happening, a lot of them are going to the double valves, thank God. But we're seeing some of those buildings, the retrofits. We might have to drain water 6 to 8 minutes. And you don't think that sounds like a lot, but when you have 500 to do, dude, that's like 2 days of draining for my techs. And so there's so many things that we could do. As you're doing, as you're thinking so far ahead, as you're building this new development or this new home or multifamily or single, and it's like, these are the things that we love to see, is you guys thinking way ahead, making them more maintenance friendly and more longevity when it comes to using Next Century products. We're very familiar with that product. We love that product. And so it's very user-friendly for us.
Yeah, and I would say, as we talked about earlier, I think before you came on, that, Yardi is, our hardware is here to take care of our UB clients. Because of that, we work with our clients a lot, especially in California. So what's been very beneficial for us is they know how to design their buildings now. Right? So we don't have this conversation a ton because our clients are very good, understanding what the meters are for and what has to happen and where they need to put them, so the ongoing maintenance is going to be there. So we have a ton of great clients that work with us on that. So it's very few and far in between where, we're working with a different construction company.
Awesome.
Right? And so they have to learn how to do it, and by the time we send you guys out...
maybe in 10 years I might really enjoy working in California.
I know, right?
We've had to learn because California's been new to us. We kind of started about a little over a year ago now. We started going and seeing how much a different animal that is out there versus where, like the East Coast, it's different night and day.
Well, and you do the New York and Massachusetts area, so in Connecticut, right? So it's not the same beast, but it's pretty close.
Yeah,
right?
they're
so
kind of
they kind of have
a lot
the
of
same
restrictions.
stuff. They don't have the weights and measures and all that kind of stuff, but it's still
plus
still
all the
another
licensing for us and insurance to work in California. We sort of stayed back for a while until I decided and Johnny decided, let's give it a whirl. and
one of those worst decisions.
And it's been good. San Diego's been enjoyable.
We have a saying called "embrace the suck." So if we can do that, then we can accomplish anything.
As a basketball player, that's the mentality you have to take. Right?
For sure.
So my kids in hockey, I've been in hockey as we talked about, and that's a mentality that sports trains us. So hopefully, like motorcycle crossing, you know that.
It applies. It applies. It's it's the daily grind. It's the
That's
commitment.
what builds the character for me.
Oh, absolutely.
But for us, it's like Johnny and I have never done anything that. I enjoy going with the guys to stay up to date as they change the apps, or we just had a big update with Next Century just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, they changed the whole look of the app.
Yeah, they change a lot. So if I'm not actively on that, I sort of lose touch, and I don't ever want my guys to get better than me. So.
All right, so we got another question. We still got more time?
We got a little bit more time.
A little bit more time. All right, so as we talked about, Next Century is our go-to meter. The reason why is obviously because of the cost, the products they do, but it's the features, being their portal. How often do you guys drive the clients that you're installing for to introduce them to that portal?
Every chance I can.
Okay.
Every chance I can.
Because we started doing that over the last year, and the response from our clients has been outstanding.
Yeah, we've
Great.
one of the things we push is like, listen, guys, we really want you on the platform.
Yeah.
I want you to be able to see what we're seeing, being very transparent with our data, right? So we don't want to. I don't know if Yardi does this, but I know some other companies I've worked with that they kind of like hoard the data like it's theirs. It really,
Correct.
it really belongs to the client at the end of the day. So
Absolutely.
we really want them to be involved so they can have the alerts, whatever they want from them, so they can be proactive.
Yes.
Leaks and things like that. And that's really what we're pushing.
Yeah, and you hit it on the nail because, Yardi hasn't really pushed that up until we started pushing that for the last year or so.
Yeah.
To letting the clients know because, as you said, we sell them the hardware. They think it's part of our service, which in reality it's part of the assets of the property.
Yeah.
Right? And it's their product. And as we all know, properties sell from company to company
All the
time. So they need to understand this is the value that they're getting with this hardware. It's not just Yardi. If they go to a competitor or any third-party billing company, they still have this great asset.
Yes.
Well,
And
let's just call the elephant in the room. It also makes us way more efficient. And the reason why I say that is, give you for instance, I see this daily. Unfortunately, my wife will tell you this. We get sent out to units that just aren't occupied as zero consumption or whatever. And this is just because the property hasn't been informed about being able to log in and see the status before it ever even gets to me to go out and address. Now, mind you, I'm not in the business of just going out and just billing for just to drive in circles. I want to provide a service, and every time I do, I want to be able to fix something. I want to, at the end of the day, I want to feel happy with what I did.
Sure.
If we're just driving around realizing we have empty units with zero consumption and we're billing for it, I feel like, what did we really accomplish? We sort of stated the obvious that the client should have been more involved with.
Yeah.
And so this is, to answer your question, this is why it's important for us to get the clients involved on understanding, like you said, the data and how to look into it so that they can troubleshoot and diagnose things possibly before it ever even becomes their billing company's problem or my problem or whoever.
Well, it's like building a partnership. Like I said, we want to help you. We're going to give you reporting. We're going to give you what you want. But I want you to take some ownership too. It's like I want you to be able to see the same thing we're seeing, so that we're not hiding anything. We're transparent about all of it. That's kind of where our biggest sell has been.
Yeah.
And units that are, people complaining of high bills, people complaining of whatever the case may be, they wouldn't even need to bother us about it. Be like, oh, we need to call you because we see that this customer is complaining, or this tenant's complaining of.
Of course, we all know customer managers or management companies are not all the same.
Yeah.
Some people will get involved in it, some people won't.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part of navigating through that. It's like what property manager will get involved and be part of it,
Yep.
and which ones just don't care.
Well, they say that's what we pay you for.
Yeah.
That's the feedback we get from them on some of them.
Yep.
And other ones, maintenance is actually for us. Actually, I don't know if you guys, for you, it's actually not really the property showing a lot of interest. It's the maintenance supervisor, the one that's having to deal with scheduling me to come out and do this stuff. So that's more important to me. I don't know if you agree. That's what I've been targeting, is getting the maintenance guy to understand like how the app works,
Yep.
what each tenant's consumption is, to maybe he can fix the issues before ever calling us.
I'm not sure if Yardi's ever done this. When I worked for other RBC companies, one of the things we're trying, especially on a national scale, or a lot of states or whatever, is I tried to use the property's maintenance where I could, if they were willing to, teach them how to work on their system, teach them how to operate all that, so that when, hey, I can't get a tech out there right now, but I can send you material and I'll tech you over the phone with your guy and kind of help them get their properties. And sometimes it'll work with you, sometimes it won't. But
Yeah, and Yardi does have that support phone call line that we can do that and walk clients through.
so sometimes that works for you as a temporary thing, but sometimes they always want they want a tech out there.
At the end of the day, it's a relationship. Let's call it what it is. It's a relationship. It's a relationship with the properties. It's a relationship with you, and we just strive to have a bulletproof relationship with you guys, to know that you can always rely on us and vice versa.
Yeah.
If there's a service we can provide for you that makes it easier on you, I'm all about that.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, Executive Producers resting. We got to wrap it up. We got some other guys we got to get on here. Greg, we do appreciate from Yardi coming in. We hope we can help you guys out in the future and build some partnership with each other. We appreciate you coming out today, Garrick.
I appreciate you inviting me on.
Thanks for coming on
This
for
is
us.
My wife owes you another drink for coming on.
Thank you. I'll take it.
Thanks, Greg. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.